Thomas Edison famously said, "I have not failed. I have found 10,000 ways that didn't work." Failure in our society is often seen as the end of the line. In this video, I want to talk about why you should embrace failure and why that is what's going to lead you to success. Fail fast and fail hard. One of Mark Zuckerberg's famous mantras, the founder of Facebook, and one of the principles central to the company's philosophy. So why would such a company, which is supposedly so successful, preach failure? And why should you care about this? Well, to think about this, we need to take a trip back in time.
Flashback.
Nowadays, each one of us can quite confidently stride onto an airplane and be fairly sure that the airplane isn't going to crash. But just over 100 years ago, this really wasn't the case. In fact, at some point in time, the aviation fatality rate was almost 50%. Crazy to think about that. You're literally flipping a coin with your life every time you fly in an airplane. Have a look at this newspaper, which talks about airplanes being just a fad. Crazy, right? So what resulted in such a change that now flights are considered safe and sound every time we take off? Well, the answer to that is failure. Well, more specifically, learning from failure. A few years after the inception of commercial flights, a man named David Warren called for the integration of his new black boxes into every plane. A black box is simply a device that is situated near the cockpit. It records every instruction which is sent through electronic systems, as well as all the verbal interactions that occur on the plane. In case of an accident, these near indestructible boxes can be salvaged from the plane, and all of the data they have collected can be analyzed to see exactly what went wrong. Every single failure can be identified from the smallest instructions sent by air traffic controllers. And due to this, anytime there is an accident, a quick turnaround by the aviation safety team can lead to rapid changes in safety protocols. This gives us a grim but purposeful realization. Our current safety standards were built on the learnings from dreadful failures that preceded them, a lot of which led to death. Now, of course, the aim is not to fail on purpose. It is about looking at failure as an opportunity to learn from and to grow from, and realize that failure is an inevitable pit stop on the path to success. Now, how do we fail and learn? Principle number one that I would advise to look at. Far too many times, due to our ingrained fear of failure, we set our bars way too high for our preparation. If we want to start studying, we must make a revision timetable, we must make really neat notes, and we must highlight them, we must color them in, and have a beautiful, dedicated study space. Those are all great and nice things to have, but the amount of effort you're exerting before you've even made an ounce of progress is insane. And in reality, these are just excuses to stop you from failing. You are putting in excuses. You don't want to fail whilst you're studying. Over planning is an easy way to kill any successful project. We have to be willing to fail fast. The fancy term for this is analysis paralysis. So don't try to be perfect. Try to fail multiple times.
Now, the idea is not to fail just for the sake of failing, of course. The idea is to learn from failure.
And as Einstein famously said, doing the same thing again and again and expecting different results is the definition of insanity. The idea is not to just fail again and again, but we have to make sure we are learning from it. That's the important part. Failure is often promoted as the end of the line in many stratospheres of society. Whether that's a test that you do at primary school, whether that's a trial that you're doing for sports, it is often seen as the end of the line if you don't succeed. Failure, rather, is an opportunity for you to learn and to grow from. Many students are scared to do past papers because they feel they're only going to score 20%, 30%. Actually, it doesn't matter what score you get. The important thing is, as long as you are learning from your mistakes, then it is okay. So even if you score 0% on the next test, as long as you haven't repeated your previous mistakes, then it's actually fine. Eventually, in a few months' time, you will be able to jump from that 20, 30% all the way up to 80, 90, and even 100% if you're learning from your mistakes diligently. I firmly believe that anyone who's in the top 1% of their domain, that's athletes, that's actors, that's scientists, and you name it, is in there because they failed more than anyone else. So why is Ronaldo and Messi right at the top? I can guarantee you that they've missed more shots in their training than anyone else that's out there. So their body has learned from those errors more than other people have. A lot of people look at failure as an excuse. Say, oh, I can't do this because I'm going to fail, or I've already failed because I'm just not smart enough.
Story time.
I want to talk to you about chess club. Whilst I was at Oxford University, I was part of a chess club. And in that chess club, there was a guy. Interestingly, this guy was completely blind. He could not see the chess pieces. He could not even see the surroundings near him. Yet, he was an amazing chess player. And this initially baffled me. I'm an above average chess player, I would say. I was nowhere near the standard of this guy. And this really helped me realize that, look, the limitations are often in our minds. If this guy, getting into Oxford in the first place, whilst being blind, can be really good at chess, what excuse do me and you have for not being able to try things and failing at them? So let us finish with a story from the early days of Facebook.
Story time.
Where they hired an intern named Ben. For context, Facebook was and is an application which needs to be running 24/7. It can't even have a few minutes of downtime. Ben, the intern, whilst he was testing for a bug, he managed to break the whole website and he took it down for a whole 30 minutes. Now, this is catastrophic for a multi-billion-dollar company. What do you think happened to Ben? In most places where the stakes are so high, you're probably going to get fired when you make such a catastrophic error, but not at Facebook. What happened with Ben was that he got hired after making this error. This is the exact culture which allows Facebook to be the behemoth that it is today. It thrives on failures where they can learn and improve from. Be open to mistakes. If Facebook, a multi-billion-dollar company, can accept mistakes and move on, if the aviation industry can move on, and if a blind guy who can get into Oxford and be an amazing chess player can do so, what is your excuse? Be open to failure, accept it, and learn from it.
Don't be a failure, and click subscribe now before you miss out on more useful information where you can learn from.